A warm good morning to one and all present here. Today, we are going on with the continuation of our web series, Hark, Talk and Walk. So, I welcome all of you to our third day where we are dealing with the topic Financial Empowerment of Women. Before we get to start, I would like to remind you all a few things. Always make sure that your microphones are muted and to use when it becomes necessary. Towards the end, we will have a Q&A session. At that time, you guys will have the opportunity to submit questions to today's presenter via chat box or by switching on your microphone. Please utilize that opportunity and be active throughout the session. Heart with heart, how hard the world fetches breathe. Talk the truth no matter how hard it is. And my dears, walk your talk without a block throughout your life. Hi friends, a hearty welcome to all of you. It's an honor itself to honor such a youthful participants and distinguished guest present here today. We are extremely happy to have you all here. So once again, a warm welcome to all. To start by the name of God, who is merciful and benevolent, ever has existed and ever will for us to glory in anything else would be in. As there is nothing greater than God, there is no calling greater than God. I would like to welcome Risna Wahid to pray for on behalf of us all.
Oh God, thank you for this day. Thank you for keeping us safe. We come to see this morning for your blessings. Bless us and all that we undertake today. Enlighten us with your wisdom and knowledge.
Thank you, dear. We feel really blessed. Now, I invite our dear sister Usha Anthony, coordinator of Hark Talk and Walk, to propose the welcome address.
Good morning, everybody. As rightly said, we are on the third day of our webinar series. First day's talk laid a foundation in our heart and mind that we have fundamental rights and also we have fundamental duties. Second day, we discussed the violation of those rights ensured by the Constitution of India. Today, on that day, the resource person mentioned that the root cause of any exploitation is poverty. The poor people are being targeted for exploitation and injustice. Today, we can be proud that empowered individuals in our society are taking initiative to empower the other. Today's talk is financial empowerment of women. We have a very beautiful person who is working with the downtrodden, the poor people of Andhra and Orissa. None other than Sister Vincy Tangachan. She has done her MSW and now she's also a student, second year student, LLB, All Saints Law College, Visakhapatnam. And she also is, since it is a lockdown period or the corona restriction period, she has her online classes, but she is also in charge of CDSSD, the director, that is Canossian Daughters Social Service Society, working for the empowerment, solely working for the empowerment of women. And today we are privileged to listen to her initiative to empower the women. We have in our institution, educational institutions, the seminars, symposium, discussions, etc. But I think there are individuals in a country who are really empowering women. We will listen to her success stories, the creative initiatives that she has taken in Orissa and in Andhra. So, on behalf of the College, Department of Commerce, everyone in this platform, we welcome you, dear Sister Vincy. Also welcome my dear students from second DC, third DC, and also the first DC students. Hearty welcome one and all to this session.
This is an era of progress. Progress in thoughts and attitudes and all. The empowerment and autonomy of women and the improvement of their political, social, economic, and health status is a highly relevant topic these days. In addition, it is essential for the achievement of sustainable development as well. Being an Indian woman, this topic has greater influence on us, and I'm pretty sure that all of you are eagerly waiting for the session to begin. So, here we have Reverend Sister Vincy Thangachan, MSW second year LLB student at All Saints Law College, Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh, and also the director of CDSSD. Ma'am, with great pleasure, I invite you to our cluster and I humbly request you to start the session.
So, good morning, dear Sister Usha and my dear students. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, Sister, audible.
Thank you for inviting me on this digital platform through your warm welcome address. Before we get into the serious discussion, let us close our eyes and pray that God may bless this whole world. So, okay, my dear friends, I am here before you to share from my personal experience a few insights on financial empowerment. So, our topic is financial empowerment of women. Here I will be talking my experience only, mainly how I became an instrument in the lives of the poor women to bring them up and made them to stand on their feet. So first we will see few slides that is like what is women empowerment? It is nothing but it refers to increasing the spiritual, political, social and economic strength of women. It often involves the empowered developing confidence in their own capacities. So that is the women empowerment. The next slide. Now we'll see what is a woman's place in the modern world. Irrespective of gender, every individual has a role to play. These are all simple sentences. But our empowerment, our strength lies not in the role, but in the power to choose that role. The entire point is setting a woman free to make her own choices. Yes, dear friends, we all have a role to play. According to me, if I say, I am a sister, I am a daughter, I am a sister of my brothers and my sister, and I am also an aunt for my nieces and nephews, and there is a lot of role I have to play. But I am not limited to my role, but I choose my role to play. Here I remember one of my companions who was doing her MSW with me. She was in love with one boy, and after her MSW, the engagement means the boy's party came to her house and asked for this girl, and then boy and girl was talking, and the boy told, see, after the marriage you will not be sent for any job, You have to remain in our family because we have lot of cow and then land. You have to take care of everyone. And I have my grandmother here. She is also sick. You have to take care of her. So you be in the house, but I will go for job. This girl was very wise and she told, see my dear, now past 2 years we are in love. You never told me this. I also have my dreams. I have my aim in life and I am an educated person today. My parents, they brought me up in that way. So I also like to go for job and earn money. I don't want to limit my role within the family itself. So she chose her role. And then she told, I don't want to get married to you. So you find somebody else. With that relationship was ending there. After that, now she got married and now she's working abroad. She's working in a hospital setting as a counselor and she's wonderfully doing today. So this is our freedom to choose our role. So next slide. Hope you understood what I have spoken just now. Now let us see SHGs. A brief introduction. What is SHG? It is a self-help group. A self-help group is a village-based financial intermediary committee usually composed of 10 to 20 local women. These SHGs are then further linked to banks for delivery of microcredit. It lays emphasis on capacity building, planning of activity clusters, infrastructure build-up, technology, credit and marketing. The members make small regular saving contributions for a few months until there is enough capital in the group for lending. So it is composed of 10 to 20 local women and this group is linked to a bank for what? For the delivery of microcredit. It lays emphasis on capacity building and there is a platform for them for the planning of their own activities and infrastructure build up, technology, because now everything is changing. So in Kerala and all, it is not that difficult, but in the rural areas, it is very difficult. The Aadhaar card to link up with the bank, phone, all those things are very, very difficult. So when they are in like these groups, they share their ideas, they help each other. So then it is also helpful for the credit and the marketing. And the members, they invest money and afterward that they can take the money from the bank for the for lending and it is for the productivity. The next slide. What are the needs for SHGs? The very existence of SHGs adds a great boost to make the poor self-reliant and to give them hope. Not only do the SHGs help in increasing their income, improving their status in the society, but it's ultimately a nation building program. A harsh reality is that rural poverty and unemployment still persist in the society, but women's earnings positively and directly affect a family's financial condition. So it is nothing but to make the poor self-reliant. We have so many groups, self-help groups. So I have number of examples where we made the poor self-reliant. And it is also not only to make an income for their own self or their own family. It is not only improving their own status, but it is a nation building program. These rural women contribute positively for the building of the nation. The harsh reality is that rural poverty and unemployment still persist in the society. Yes, dear, I am living with in the rural areas with the real poor. And every day, every moment I see what is poverty and what is unemployment. But but when the women have some income in hand, cash in hand, that will help positively in the financial condition of the family. Next slide. Objectives of SHGs: to inculcate the habit of saving and using banking facilities among the members, to acquire loans for productive purpose. So it is they will be having groups and savings will be there, and it is linked, their group is linked to banking facilities for what? For the productive purposes. So these productive purposes we will see in the next slides as I explain to you the practical examples. Then the next one is to sensitize more women to form SHGs. Suppose in a village we are forming 1 or 2 or 3 groups, but afterwards when the other women, when they witness that how they are coming up in life, how much of money they are getting, how they are educating their children, how they are renovating their house, how they are having livestock in their families. These are all encouraged and motivate other women to join the SHGs. So it is sensitize more women to form SHGs. Next one is to help the women in the process of collective decision making. So not only at home they make decisions, but collective decision making in the society, in their own villages to make some decisions. For that, this platform is good. To take up social responsibilities, to change the gender dynamics of power within a family and ultimately the society at large. So this SHGs help to have the power within the family and at the end a society at large. Next slide. Let us see what are the need for women empowerment. Women are the backbone of the society. You all know that. We are all aware of it. If we look into our own families, we know women are the backbone of the society. In my house, I can say that my father is no more. He died some 25 years back. But my mother, she is the backbone of our family, and she only brought us up. And here women are the backbone of the society. So when a woman is building up the family, automatically the society also will build up. They play the most important role in keeping the family together. If you educate a woman, she will educate the whole family. So here I can say one example. If you educate a woman, she will educate the whole family. Stories only, my own stories. Okay. So I was working in Orissa. In Orissa, we have so many schools. They are all government schools. Only in the cities we have schools run by fathers, sisters, like that. So otherwise it is all running by the government. So what I do is, myself and my community sisters, we used to go to the schools. We used to take classes for the students. I have a laptop and then I also have a projector. With that, we used to carry, we used to walk, or sometimes we used to take our vehicle and then we go to the different schools. We meet the class teachers, we meet the headmasters, and then we find out whether the children are regular coming to the school, whether they are getting food. All those things we find out. So the headmasters used to tell us, sister, in one village, only boys are coming to the school. The girls are not coming to the school. So for me, it was a surprise. The next day itself, I went to that particular village together with my staff. I went there and then I found there are no boys in that village. Few girls are there, small ones, they are playing. Some are playing, some are washing the clothes, some are keeping the cleaning the house. And then we called all the children, and we sat there. Then we asked, why are you all not going to the school? And they told, our parents are not sending us to the school. Then we asked, how many girls are here in this village? So they told the exact number. Few girls are gone to the mountain, gone to the forest to collect firewood for the to help their parents for the cultivation and all those things. So we asked, do you like to go to the school? They told, yes, we like to go to the school. One girl told, if we go to the school, we will get nice food. Another girl told, if we go to the school, like my brother, I also able to read and write. I was feeling so sorry for these poor girls. But we waited there in the village for the parents and other children to come. When the parents came, we gathered all of them in front of a house, and we had a meeting with the parents and the children, and we asked, why are you not sending your girl children to the school? And one mother, she told, we never went to the school. Our parents did not send us to the school. Only the boys were allowed to go to the school. So we are also not sending our girl children to the school. See, after some time they have to get married. And another practice they have is the girls, no, they have to go to the mountain, they have to go to the forest, cut the firewood, and then bring the firewood to their house. Then the boys will be watching. Boys will be seeing that who all are working hard. Those who are the girls who are working hard only will get a boy to get married. So these girls will be getting ready to go to the forest and collect the firewood and do all the other cultivation work. Then I asked, I want your girl children also to go to the school. So their parents told, okay, you can take them. If they are ready, you can take them. So then I told, okay, then you come with your parents to the school tomorrow morning. And the parents told, we will not come, you take the responsibility. I felt so bad, but I told, okay, I will take the responsibility. And then I told the children, tomorrow morning 9 o'clock, you come to the school, I will be there. So these children, they all came. 7 girls came that day. First day, 7 girls came to join in the school. Then I took them to the headmaster and I told, sir, they would like to join. They are from the village where you told the girls are not coming to the school. Then that headmaster told, sister, I need their parents' signature. I told, for the time being, I can be their mother. Please. Then the sir also agreed, and then I gave my signature and enrolled their names in the school. And now they are studying in the school. And I am very sure when they finish 10th and after getting married, they also will have girl children. They will surely, without any second thought, they will send their girl children to the school because they understood the need for education. So if you educate a woman, she will educate the whole family. Next one is, when you empower women, you empower the household. The same example can be applied here. Okay, the next slide. Now we are going to see what is financial empowerment of women. So, dear friends, now we will enter into the world of practical financial empowerment. Now, before we were just hearing some theories, but now we are going to enter into the practical financial empowerment. So, I welcome you all to the state of Andhra Pradesh and Odisha without any ticket. So, welcome to our world. The concept of financial empowerment means ability to control your financial future. Now I will tell what moved me to begin these small empowerment programs. What moved me to begin? The first one is debt. In all the families, I found debt. Sometimes their ration card will be in the hand of someone else. Sometimes their land will be in the hand of somebody else. What to say, their identity card will be in the hand of somebody else. It is for maybe for 500 rupees, for 2000 rupees, for 5000 rupees. So when they have this much money in hand only, they will be able to get their belongings to them. So it was very difficult for me to see, because it is something strange I never saw. So that made me to introduce some of the activities here. And savings of women in the family. These rural villages, I found that the fathers of the family, most of them, they drink and they go about, and they don't take care of their children and others. And if their children are sick, they will be at home only. And so since we have a dispensary there, they used to bring them to our dispensary and we take care of them. So I felt that the women have some money in their hand. It will be useful to take their children to the hospital where they get better facilities, medical facilities, or to renovate their house, or to buy a cow, or for any other purposes of their families. For this, I began small activities. Then bonded labor. I found that in most of the villages, there were bonded laborers. That also, maybe for 2000 or 5000 or 10,000 rupees, they give their children to the agents, and the agents will give the child to someone else, and this child will be in that house doing all the work. Whatever they say, that child has to do. He has no education, and no other desire of him will be fulfilled, him or her will be fulfilled, but he will be or she will be a bonded labor in that family. But they will be freed if they give back this 2000 rupees or 5000 rupees or 10,000 rupees and the interest, which they will never have in hand. So I introduced small activities. And the next thing is, I felt that this is the need of the hour. Then the next one is migration and human trafficking. Sister Princey already took a class on migration and human trafficking. In all our villages, there are boys and girls who are migrated and who became victims of human trafficking. So I had to introduce some programs for them. And today, we have 5,000 women under CDSSS, that is Canossian Daughters Social Service Society. So CDSS is Canossian Daughters Social Service Society. We have a society only to do social work. So under us, there are 5,000 women today in Andhra and Odisha, and many SHGs. So you can imagine 5,000 women in our hand. These 5,000 women will have so many children, and most of them are widows. Most of them are HIV/AIDS patients. Most of them are old. So we are taking care of all these people. So there are so many stories, so many success stories I have to share with you. Okay, and the next slide. Now we will see few of the practical examples. Christine Lagarde, Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, said, "When women do better, economies do better. This is smart economics." Against this backdrop, it is worth exploring our small efforts to empower women. Now, through examples, I will tell you what I had done in the rural villages, in the poor villages, to bring up the women, the dropout girls, the youth, the children, etc. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So this is the first program I have introduced in our village, Smokeless Chula project. Smokeless Chula project means it is nothing but in Malayalam പുകയില്ലാത്ത അടുപ്പ്. So when we visit the villages, when we visit the families, we used to go to the families, and morning we will send the children to the schools. Some of them are very lazy to go to the school. They like to go to the mountain only. But then we used to visit each and every houses, and we used to send the children to the schools. And evening times again we have meetings for the SHG women. We used to have meeting for the youth. We used to have meeting for the children. We used to have meeting for the dropout girls, dropout boys. Then for the men, different groups of people we used to have the meeting. But night you cannot enter into their house. After 6 o'clock they start cooking, and they don't have a smokeless chula, so their house will be filled with smoke. We will not be able to enter into the houses. And they have only one kitchen and a room. Very pathetic their condition, but they keep it clean because they are tribals, they keep their place clean. That is the only plus point I see there. And there is a lot of togetherness, there is a lot of love, there is feeling, and so many other things are there. They are really God's people, God's own people, and I admire them. I learn a lot from these poor people. Okay, so evening times we used to go to each family for the prayer, rosary. Then I saw that we were not able to enter into the houses because of the smoke. There I felt to introduce this smokeless chula project. So I wrote a project with the help of one man, which the man who is standing in the second picture, with the ladies. So he helped me to write a project, and I sent the project to Caritas India with the signature of our bishop, and then we got it sanctioned. And I also like to say that I was also working as Women Commission Secretary of our diocese. So for me it was very easy to get into the church authorities, so that this kind of programs, for me it was very easy to introduce this kind of programs in the villages and in the parishes. So it got sanctioned, and then I introduced this project in the village. First I introduced in our own village where we are staying. We were also staying in a small house. You can see that house, this is same like this mud house only, our house also. So we were staying there. I was there for 4 years. And then all of a sudden we cannot install this project in their kitchens. So what I did was, will you show me the next slide? Creating awareness about this project. So night we gathered all the people of that village with the PowerPoint presentation, with the LCD projector and everything. I connected, and then I took a class with the help of this man. We took a class, and then we made them understand the importance of the smokeless chula, and how it will benefit the women. Women can make a lot of income. For them it was an eye-opening, and because by themselves they never imagined, they never thought of, they never saw this kind of smokeless chula or this kind of an activity. And so we introduced the thing, and we made them convinced that it is something good for them. And then we all went to sleep. Next day morning, at our doorstep we saw many families standing, asking to install the smokeless chula in their kitchen. Dear friends, what a satisfaction I felt. It is not a great thing I did, but for me it was, for our sisters it was a satisfaction. And then we went to other villages also and introduced this project, and then there also we have installed. The next slide. So this was our training program. See, input session on smokeless chula. So this is just behind our convent. So this place is the training center. Okay, your training center will be, there will be, what is that, ACs and a very smart room will be there, but ours is this is so natural. Okay, so we selected these 7 women from the SGs, and then we gave them training. They don't know to read, they don't know to write. It was very difficult for us to teach them. But once they picked up, it was very easy for them to install it in their houses. Okay, so with the same thing, this is the second picture is that smokeless chula, that pipe which we bought from another one place, which is very, means it was also long distance we had to travel to get to these pipes. Okay, next slide. You can see how we could empower the women. See, she is standing on the top the roof, and she is fixing that to the chimney. Next slide. So this is the real chula we prepared with mud only. With mud and other things are there, other raw materials, and with that we prepared this. The second picture you can see how the clean kitchen is. No smoke. Peacefully the family is sitting together and enjoying. The mother is relaxed. Otherwise, she will be with full of smoke, like in the first picture. This is before and after. Before the kitchen was this, but now the kitchen is like this. They can breathe fresh air even in the kitchen. Another thing why I introduced this is the ladies and the youth, the girls, young girls, the dropout girls. Their one employment is of the family is go to the forest and cut the fresh trees and bring them to their own houses, and that they will use for the firewood. In a day, few of them in a day they were using 10 firewood. But after installing this smokeless chula, they were using only 3 firewood. It is really interesting and it is really a successful story. The next slide. And here I also would like to say that our women, from here I selected 2 of them, and we went to Bihar. You can imagine Bihar, where Bihar is, and these ladies, maybe 20 kilometers they might have gone. After that they had never traveled, but then we had to go to Bihar by train. They have only heard about train. They might have seen in the movies train. They might have seen in the picture train. That's all. But they traveled by train. And for them it was an excitement. I took them to Bihar, and believe or not, there we went to a social work center where fathers run a social service society, where 32 staff and fathers and sisters are there. We gave all of them training on how to prepare a smokeless chula, and they also studied well. And then we went in the month of February, and the next month was March 8th is International Women's Day. So that day they gathered all the women of their villages in Bihar, and then they taught these women how to install smokeless chula. You see, these poor women of our village, remotest village, can influence a big means a rich place of Bihar and empower those women also. And from there again we traveled to another place, the border of Nepal, where our sisters are staying. where our sisters means our north province sisters are there. So we were invited there, and there also they called the people of their locality, and we taught them to install smokeless chula. These two women got lot of money in their hand. I did not receive anything, I did not want anything, but for them it was something great when they got thousands of rupees in their hand for their hard work. It was something great. So now we will see what is the outcome of this small project. People were made aware that the smoke in the kitchen is a silent killer. Indoor air pollution leading to the cause of almost 80% of the sickness among the rural women and children. Clean and healthy kitchen can improve the health of the family and the villages at large. You saw that kitchen, the before and after picture. So same thing. The new skill learned can be used for generating additional income to the family by the women. With that, they are getting now a lot of money. They are invited to different parishes. Now I am not there. I left the place. Only 4 years I was there. But now also these ladies are going to different places and installing this smokeless chula, and they are getting money. This can improve the standard of living of tribal women and their families. One could arrest the deforestation as a massive reduction in the use of firewood in the new stove. They started getting money by installing smokeless chula. Hope you understood. Now let us see the next slide. This is another project of mine. This is solar lantern assembly and marketing unit. Actually, this one I introduced to stop migration and human trafficking, and also it will be an income generation program for the women and the dropout girls and boys. So this is a new initiative. Again, I wrote another project and I sent the project to some foreign countries and it got sanctioned, and I installed the same thing in our villages. Installed in the sense we collected the dropout youth, we collected the women, and so few men also joined us for the training, and then we taught them, and we taught them also marketing, and we taught them how to use it and how to repair when something happens to this what is that solar lantern. Next slide. This is a new initiative to stop migration and human trafficking. You see the first slide. When we were teaching them how to make this solar lantern, because there is a lot of process. Small wires are there inside. You have to connect to that to one to another like that. No, they need nice eyesight. But here I identified another problem. These ladies had eye problem. So after this program, we sent them for the eye checkup. We also conducted an eye camp. Okay, so this when they were doing this practical, we felt that it is like a factory. It is like a factory, and all were so much interested. I saw a lot of unity among them. I saw that the young ones, these dropout girls, they were teaching the elderly people. Elderly in the sense, these women, you can see, few women are sitting there. The younger ones were teaching the elder ones. It was something really great, beautiful. And the next picture is, see, with what joy and satisfaction they are lifting the solar lantern in their hands for the photo session. You see, they have learned a new skill which in the factories they learn. Okay, we will see the next slide. These are all we are giving training to the women, the youth, and also few men. See how much means with the interest they are learning this. Next slide. Here we see lighting of remote households. After finishing this, after the completion of this project, what we did is this: we prepared 100 solar lanterns first. So with that, we went and switched off the main. Means there was no light in the village. We went and switched off the main switch. We put off, and then we walked. We took a route. We have some 4-5 lines are there. 110 families are living in this particular village. It's not like our Kerala and all, but one from next to even next to our wall, the next house will be. It is like that. They are so united, no? That way only. But their land is very far. Land in the sense they go to the forest for the cultivation, mountains for the cultivation. So since they are tribals, so what we did, we prepared nice slogans, songs, and we were taking the with the solar lanterns. We will taking 3 rounds in the villages, shouting slogans loudly in their language. Their dialect is Hui, not Odia, Hui, which is very difficult for others to understand. Only these people will know their language. Now we also don't know much, but a few words here and there we know. Otherwise they speak Odia also, but the old people will not talk Odia. They know their dialect only, that is Hui. And then when we finished taking a round in the village, many of them came with 500 rupees, telling that sister give us 1 solar lantern. So we took the money and we gave them and wrote their names because it cost 2000 rupees. Then I told this boys and girls, if you sell 1 solar lantern, you will get 500 rupees. So they were all interested. And then we gave the advertisement. So many fathers bought this from us. Then boardings, there are so many boardings. So they have bought from us the solar lanterns. So it was an income generating program. Next slide. So what are the outcome? Every program there will be an outcome. No? So we will see the outcome. The training was taken as a first step towards building at village level solar hubs where solar products would be assembled and maintained and marketed in the future. Apart from these, a lot of input on soft skills, that is working in groups, leadership qualities, personal interaction skills were discussed and imparted. Tips for marketing was given to the trainees. We also had a meeting of all the dropout youth members to plan for the marketing of the products. I can say that one success story is after installing this project, our girls and boys are remaining in our own villages. We could end this human trafficking and migration, not fully, but in some extent. So it was a plus point of this project. Training the youth and women for solar lantern assembling and marketing, training on livelihood for the youth who are dropouts. Ultimate aim is to control migration and economic sustainability for women and youth. Next slide. The next program, the next initiative is training on homemade items. So we collected the women and we were teaching them how to make cake, how to make neyyapam, how to make laddu, samosa, all those things. And we also taught them how to sell also. For one, when they sell one, how much money they can collect from a person. So the next slide. So the outcome is nothing but they put up new shops. Where they put up the shops, they don't have money to put up a big shop, but they put up under a shade tree and they were selling the hot neyyapam there, samosa there, and they even went to the market. There also they started selling. So first for the to initiate this, first we had to give them money. I had to give them money. After that, by themselves they could manage, and they also have money in their group. With that they could manage. Next slide. Then we also have introduced some of the income generation activities. So for this also I have written project. Sisters, we have written project and got sanction, and with this we have introduced some income generation activities in the villages. So ragi powder business, broom making and selling, cashew estate, auto rickshaw, textile business, soap powder making, phenol business, petty shops, grocery shops, tiffin center, goat rearing, and so many other things are also there. Next slide. Here you will see few pictures. The tiffin shop. With our money, they put up a tiffin shop. Suppose if we are giving them 5,000 rupees, they buy all what they need for the for the shop, and then when they get money, they will give back that money to us. We don't take interest from them, but they will give us back the money, but not according to our time, but according to their time. And they will not cheat us. The tribals will not cheat us. You see that old man making broom there. So when they make a broom, they have to go to the forest and collect this grass, and they make a broom. It is also very difficult. And then others will come and buy from them for 10 rupees, 20 rupees. So we identified this problem, especially Sister Jisha. She'll be taking class on 15th. So she identified this problem and she came and told me. And then now what we do is we are buying this broom from their hand and we are selling for higher price, and we give them that money. Now Sister Jisha, she is selling for 50 rupees, 40 rupees and 50 rupees. As in the shops they sell brooms, no? Same way we are getting. So we are helping these people to stand on their feet. The last picture you can see, ragi powder making. That person is an HIV patient. So they are also kept away from the society. Now see how we give them importance. Next slide. This is phenol business. Dropout girls. I gave training for the dropout girls and the women of different groups, SHGs. I put only few photos here, but we gave so many women and the dropout girls this training. And now what they do is, now they are making by themselves and they are selling. They are selling in the schools, phenols. They are selling in the boardings, hostels. They means for marketing it is easy for them. So they are selling it and making money out of it. And they also have groups, these dropout girls. Then soap powder making, and this also we taught the dropout girls and the women. With this also they are making now a lot of money. Okay, next. Here you can see variety of programs, same things. Here that second picture, no? Here there you can see smaller lantern only. Solar lantern only. That is my second. After that, first one was a little bigger size. This is small size. This is only 1,500 rupees, which we could sell in all the, even poor families could buy this. And now also they are using it. It is very good and a quality one. And from the colleges of Bhubaneswar, 2 girls also came here for the training. And they were also one with these poor people. It was really excellent work we did. So in the evenings we go to the villages. In the third photo you will see, evenings we used to go to the villages and collect all the women of that village and teach them how to make phenol and soap powder. So how it was possible is, and through this what they gained is capacity building. We helped them to start a business, helped them to stand on their feet, improvement in the standard of living. Through all these programs they could achieve all these. Okay, next slide. And how is it possible? One fine morning, we cannot introduce all these things. There is a lot of hard work behind it. You see, myself and one more sister, Sister Rini, attending the Grama Sabha. Every month there is nodal meeting in the Panchayat, and the Gram Sabha, we used to attend those meetings. In the Gram Sabha and in the Panchayat meetings, the Anganwadi workers will be there, the Panchayat president will be there, then others like Asha workers, Asha workers, then school management committee, and then ward members, so many people will be there present. So here also we introduce these programs, and they also invite us to their own villages, and it was easy for us to do the programs there. And networking with the Panchayat presidents, ward members, church authorities, meeting the Anganwadi workers. So many programs happened through the Anganwadi workers. So everything is possible if we have the willingness to reach out to the poor and the needy. Next slide. These are few pictures of the loan meetings and taking pledges. So when we give loans, they have to take pledge that they will use this money for the productive purposes, and they will give back the money, and the group will not suffer because of all these things. They take pledge. So we also have the continuous meeting in the groups. Okay, next. This also the same thing. The first one you can see the ladies standing with the money, that is loan distribution and taking pledge. This also. Okay, next slide. Then through this loan distribution, what they do is they also put up petty shops, then animal husbandry, they educate their children, they also put up some business, grocery shops, hotels, tiffin centers, broom business, rice business, etc. Rice business and all, these women, they go to the mills and they buy rice and they come and they sell in their villages. So for that we give them money. So beautiful. How we can become a blessing in the among the rural poor. So with the loan distribution, they had done so many activities. You can see what are the activities they do. So putting up of shops in the villages, making broom, then this goat rearing, cow rearing, everything is there. Fowls, poultry farm they have, then other business like fruit selling and all those things. So different activities they do by taking the loan. Next slide. I don't know whether I am taking more time. So these are the benefits. So we will see what are the benefits. This we are going to conclude. Okay. A majority of the women in India, especially in rural areas, are homemakers, which is a full-time job with no payment. Yes, the women from morning till night, they work hard without any payment. And with this, they also have so many children. After their marriage onwards, maybe sometimes before marriage onwards, they will be bearing children, and that is their main job. That was the way the women are considered like commodities. Financial literacy can empower women to develop a financial identity even with their small and micro household savings, to get access to formal credit for gainful occupation, giving them economic freedom and power. Financial literacy can motivate women, generating sustainable income through micro activities, to create a ground for their graduation to higher income opportunities. Next slide. women have moved forward, not in fraternity as a brotherhood, but in their own unique sisterhood, lifting each other up, nourishing each other with love and support. In one group, if they need any money for the medical needs, to meet the medical needs, or for the educating their children, so for all that they cooperate with one another and they lend the money. It is like their sisterhood is growing in the groups, and they also lift each other, then nourish each other with love and support. It lays emphasis on capacity building, planning of activity clusters, infrastructure build-up, technology, credit and marketing. So this we have seen in the objectives, no? Same. With improved financial security, other areas of women's lives also improve and more likely to play a leadership role in their communities. Women never had that leadership qualities, but through this group, through this kind of activities, directly or indirectly, they will have that leadership qualities. Next slide. Okay, now you can ask any questions.
Binsi, I have a question.
Yes, sister.
I have a question. Is there anybody who finished their SSLC or SSLC or +2 in that village? Anyone?
Yes, sister. There are girls and boys who completed their 10th, and now we are also motivating them to go for higher studies. And I have taken a lot of initiatives to put them in different colleges. They are doing well. They are studying, and some of them are getting job. Some are working as Anganwadi workers also. So that way they are now empowered. But before it was not at all like this. When they reach the 8th standard, they get entangled with the boys, and then they will have children and then abortion. That was the situation there. But our presence made a lot of difference in those villages. Not only those villages, even I can say, since I was working in the diocese, I used to go to visit the parishes, take a class for women, take a class for the girl children. I used to give more importance to the girl children about their studies, for the youth, and that way there is a lot of improvement in the villages, in the families, and they are going for higher studies now.
There are 2 questions come in the chat box, Sister Binsi. How men should be involved in the financial empowerment of women? Second one, what is the stressful part about working at women's empowerment?
Stressful part working.
If you read the chat box, you can see the question by yourself in the chat box. Do you see the question?
How men should be involved in the financial empowerment of women. Yes. Actually, here men are overpowering the women. So there is no much voice for the women in these villages. From the beginning onwards, the situation was that. So even if the women do any activities, there is no encouragement from the part of the men. And now we started giving importance to the men also. We have a men's group, and we used to take a class for them. And I feel some difference that the men are also helping the women. See, when we were teaching them about the smokeless chula, installing the smokeless chula and the solar lanterns. These men also were coming, and they were also taking lead to sell the products. That way I see some improvement. Actually, these men can, if there is that real support and encouragement from the part of the men, these women can really come up in their empowerment, and they should be involved. But the point is, most of them they cling to that olden mentality. That see, after their wedding, the girls they should not go out. They should not attend any of the functions of outside. Means in their village they can attend, in their own relatives they can attend. Other than that, nothing they can do. But what I do is I used to take them to different places for the dance. With we used to prepare drama and we used to present, and they appreciate a lot. But these men, we have to get their permission. Why we have to go and ask, will you send your wife with me for the program? That way we have to beg to the men. It is very difficult for us sometimes. And before the marriage they do all the other, like their culture is that dancing, singing and all those things. After when they get married, they cannot take a step. But after when we went there only, again we started, they started this getting into that social involvement, like dancing, singing. We used to conduct different competitions, we used to give prize as cash. All those things helped them to come up in life. But from the part of the men, there is not much encouragement. Only few have that little of encouragement and support to the women.
What is the most stressful part?
Yeah, most stressful part also is this, that the women are not much educated, and then for us it is very difficult to make them understand also. Once they get into us, it is easy, but it is very difficult. We have to visit them continuously, we have to visit. And from our village it is easy, but to go to other villages, no, we have to climb 2, 3, 4, 5 mountains. Only then we will reach. Early morning we start with water and some biscuit or something like that. We walk and we reach there. Sometimes when we reach there in the village, nobody will be there. They will be on the mountain for the cultivation, for they might have gone for for the earnings, all those things. So very difficult for us to, that was I felt that very stressful working for the women empowerment. So we had to wait there, and then when the women come back, they will be so much tired, and then they have no interest to listen to us. Sometimes some of them will listen to us, and that way it is like our work we used to feel. But in the beginning time, initial time, but afterwards when they get into our this thing, and it is very interesting for them also, and that way improvement is there. Otherwise it is really stressful. The distance was very much stressful for us to walk and reach that place, because no vehicle will go. Now there is road facilities are there. Maybe this year or end of last year they have some road facilities. Before that only through walking. And some of the ladies also, they believe that they should not come out of it, and they will have to face lot of problem in the families, because their husbands will not talk to them. They will ill treat them. Why you should do dance, or why you should do for this program, why you should make soap powder, how can you go and sell in the market, that way. No, they are not much exposed. These women are not exposed. Once they are exposed, only they can do this kind of economical activities, and they will have finance in hand. But these men will not encourage them, and whatever the women has also, these men will take from their hand, and they will do other like drinking and all those things. But another positive thing is that when they get 500 rupees in hand by all these our activities, they put it in the bank. They will not waste that money, because they know that it is their hard work. So that way we empower them.
Another question is, what are the difficulties, obstacles that you have faced in dealing with or stopping the migration of people from the village? Any difficulties that you have experienced?
Sure, we experienced a lot of difficulties, migration and human trafficking. Once, Sister Philo and myself, we went to one village. It was evening time. When we went there, we saw with the village people, no, they used to cut the firewood from the forest, and they were keeping that firewood and putting fire, and then they were sitting around the fire and they were warming up. And when we went there, we put two chairs they gave us, and we were also sitting with that. We were sitting on the chair, and we saw that some of the young girls are missing in that village. And we asked, so your young girls, are they cooking at home? They told no. All our young girls are in Goa, in Bombay, in Kerala, in Andhra Pradesh, and different states. But some of them, they don't even have any access to speak to them. They are not even getting any money. So we took some steps. So there are Tibetans. Okay, Tibetans. These Tibetans, what they do is they give them 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees, 5,000 rupees, and they take their children and go to different places like Goa and Bombay, and these girls are there. So we were finding means to make them to come from there, since I was working in the Women Commission. So I have sisters working in Goa and Bombay, and I gave their address, and that way we were finding out the girls, and there were a lot of threats. They were trying to, like, threatening sisters, threatening me, threatening my staff, that if you come to our village, we will do something. That way also we had experienced. Even the fathers and the brothers of these girls, they are also not that ready to bring the girls back to the village, because with that money only they can drink and they can have some kind of enjoyment in the villages. So when they see us going to the village, they chase us in the sense, means they won't respond to us, they will say something that way. That way we have experienced a kind of they are not responding to us. That way some problems were there. Even when we go for the panchayat meetings, there we tell these problems about the migration and human trafficking, and some of the ward members and all were not happy with us, because these ward members also will get little money by giving these girls to the other agents. So that way we have faced some of the difficulties.
Another question is that how can you measure the women empowerment? Maybe I think you have already answered how they were and how they are now.
Yeah, I have, because they never had this kind of opportunities to come out of their families. But I feel that now they are empowered. They are going to the schools, they are going to the colleges, they are going for work. So I feel they are empowered now. Not only the young girls, but also the women at home. They are now like leaders. They are able to take classes for others. Before they were not like that. They were not even able to utter a word to the next person. It was like that. No, first when I went to that particular village, evenings when I go for house visiting, these ladies and the children, they used to run inside their house and sit. And literally I used to cry and come to the convent and I sit there. I thought I will not be able to do anything. But now I see a lot of difference, and I feel that is called empowerment.
Okay, then another question, they're asking, maybe their doubt or curiosity, women empowerment, does it increase the domestic violence? When women are empowered, are they fighting with the men or in the family for their rights and claims, etc.? If they are.
Domestic violence as such we don't see, but they fight because when they are told you should not go. When I was taking that girl to Bihar, her parents were not sending her, and then I had to speak there. She also had to cry, and that way some problems were there beginning, because it is they are so traditional. So that way I used to find it difficult. Otherwise, that domestic violence as such is not placing because of the women empowerment.
Very good. Good. Maybe their concept of domestic violence also has to be changed. Domestic violence, we need to know what is domestic violence. Only then we can compare the women empowerment with the domestic violence. Okay. Then another question is asked, difference between feminism. This is similar. That's why I asked this question first. Feminism and the women empowerment, almost similar. Feminism and, okay, you may answer. Feminism and women empowerment. Two different things it is. Did you see the question, sister? Sister Vincy?
Is there any difference
between
feminism and women empowerment? I feel that these women are empowered, but they don't fight much for their rights, and that we are women, we should get that way and all. There is not much problem in the villages or in the families, but they are satisfied with the way they are functioning. That way only I can answer, I think. Like other women in the society, like in the urban places, that kind of they're fighting for their rights and this that way and all, they have not much empowered. Only in small little matters they have empowered.
That we need to know, just to add to what sister said, feminism means people who are really educated and they are very well aware of their rights and they have good power, influence, etc. They are trying to authoritatively claim it. But these poor women, they are not even aware of their rights. When others tell that you are supposed to be like this, they remain. They are not aware of their rights.
Sister, I think it will take a lot. Again, it will take a time,
lot of time.
To come up to know their rights and things. We means through different classes we tell them what are their rights, their privileges, all those things. But still, it will take a lot of time. Our sisters are there only now. This is the 9th year that we are there in Jubo, and there are no sisters worked. Only few fathers. And they don't have any other exposure to other like cities, so they are remaining with their that limited space with limited experiences, having means their thing is that they should have more children, that is their wealth. They should have a lot of cow, that is their wealth, and for that they give importance, even for cultivation, only for their മീൻസ് അന്നന്ന് വേണ്ട ആഹാരം, അതിന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ടുള്ള ഫുഡ് അങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ അവരുണ്ടാക്കുന്നുള്ളൂ. അതല്ലാതെ മാർക്കറ്റിംഗ് അതൊക്കെ ഞങ്ങൾ വന്നതിന് ശേഷമാണ് ഈ മാർക്കറ്റിംഗ് അങ്ങനെയുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങളെല്ലാം ഇവരുടെ മനസ്സിലേക്ക് വരാൻ തുടങ്ങിയത്. So rights and all, I think we need to educate them little more.
Okay, thank you. Somebody wants Devika, proceed.
Okay, sister. I think all of you are free from doubts. Sister Vincy, is there anything else you want to cover before winding up?
No, nothing else. I want to express my gratitude for helping, means for giving me a chance to speak to you. I did not see not even one person's face, but I don't know. I was able to explain to you what I was doing there. Not only myself doing, but we have few sisters. They have done their MSW, they have done their other studies and doing the law, and we also have committed staff in our hand. It is all this work I did not do by myself, but our sisters and the committed staff, they with all heart and mind, they were with me, and we are reaching out to so many people in the rural areas. So thank you for listening to me. Hope I did not make class boring. You might have understood something, and it is all God's work, I feel. It is today's gospel also. I have chosen, you have not chosen me. See, I felt that today as I was also praying, meditating over the today's gospel passage, I felt that and it was already, this class was in my mind, I was thinking that, I was reflecting that, how God chose me to be in this remotest place, to give life to so many families, to give meaning, to be a blessing to so many people in the remotest villages, not only me but my sisters also. So that way I was able to share with you some of my experience. There are so many things to share with you, but these are the few things I could share with you. Hope you all understood and you have benefited from my class, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Before I also would like to give my feedback. First of all, I want to thank Sister Vincy for accepting this invitation. Casually that I asked that, but you have taken a lot of trouble to prepare and prepare your slides and arrange it in very well. You have presented very well, and we are proud that the things that we are not able to do, you are reaching out to the society and the village. The village will remember you forever. You don't say it as women empowerment, you don't call it as financial empowerment, that you are helping the individuals or families to come up in life, to have a better life, a dignified life. So to my students, I wanted to say, you must have seen the girls who are participating in those training programs. Young girls, maybe 10, maybe 15 years to 20 years of age. They are younger than us, I think, but they are dropout students. Dropouts are not yet privileged like us to go to an institution, formal institution or college to do a program, etc. So today's reflection should be that how privileged are we? Kerala is not India. That's what I want to tell. Kerala is not India. We are privileged. We have better opportunities to come up in life. We are motivated, we are focused. They are no one to give even the motivation and focus. So, sister, thank you so much. And the Sister Binsi is a Chrysostom of our congregation. She is a very quick-witty person, and you must have heard her introduction. You all can come to Odisha and Andhra without any ticket. That's what you have done. You have taken to Andhra and Odisha without any ticket. Actually, I really wished some of our students are willing. We could have an exposure program, a 10 days program there. That was my
Yes,
dream.
yes, sister, you're welcome.
Okay, but in this situation, after I felt the dream in my mind, the situation is not that okay with the corona, etc. Still, I hold
Yeah.
that dream, it will come true. I know one day or the other, it might come true. So, on behalf of the college and the department, I just want to thank you. Now, the feedback will be invited from the students. Please do come up with your feedback.
Thank you so much, Sister Vincy, for sharing your valuable time for all of us. So, I think now it's our responsibility to provide something in return to Sister. Guys, please come forward with your feedback.
Good morning, everyone. Now I am here to share my experience from this section. First, I thank Sister Vinci Tangachan for taking and giving such a confidential class for us on the topic Financial Empowerment of Women. I had really inspired by this section. Inside every woman, there is a mind which expects a complete freedom in their life. Women empowerment is the most important thing in our society expecting today. As the sister said, women are the backbone of the society. Women must be educated and they must have a job to make their life stable. Sister had shared her contribution and experience in promoting women financial empowerment like Small Plus Chula project, solar lantern assembling and marketing unit, homemade items, and many other projects. We feel proud to hear that these all are done to improve to promote financial health for women and poor village people. We also come to know what are the problems our society face. May God bless you, sister, for doing more contribution in our society. Thank you all.
Sister, thank you so much. Thank you so much for such a wonderful class. Because I was actually waiting for a privileged to thank you because it was such a really wonderful class. Your experiences, the work and projects that you have done there, everything is really inspiring. The girls that supported you there, they are inspiring. And of course, the one who behind all this, the one who implemented such kind of projects there, sister, you are really inspiring. I feel really blessed because I was born in a place like Kerala. We are privileged to study, we are privileged to travel, we are privileged to express our opinions here. But outside here, so many people are denied of their rights. So many women are denied of their rights. So I think from your class, in the light of your class, actually, what I get is we are supposed to work for them. We are privileged. We are privileged to born in a place like Kerala. So we are supposed to work for the people who are not getting their rights. So thank you so much, sister, for providing such a great thought for all of us. And I was actually preparing to ask something during the Q&A session, but I was not able to type that in the chat box because that was a little bit large or long word. So may I ask that thing now, sister?
Yeah, sure.
Uh, she said that we can empower women by educating the society. But recently, an incident happened in Kerala. That is, some house surgeons from a Kottayam Medical College, they were denied of their wages. Some women house surgeons, they were denied of their wages, and they went to their higher official to ask for why we are not getting wages, even though they are working in such a pandemic situations with other doctors. They are denied of their wages, and they asked him why we are denied. And this official, of course, on mail, he replied that why a woman, for what a woman need money, for what a woman need job. He just replied like that, and it was really insulting. And those women, house surgeons, doctors, they reacted through social media, and that incident got viral. So even though he is a highly educated person, but still he is not understanding what is the importance of respecting individuals. Whether it is a woman or it is a man, we are supposed to respect everyone as an individual. But even though he is highly educated, he is not aware of that concept. So I think our education system has to change a bit. Our education system should give more from low level too. We have to give more importance in the concept of considering people as equal. So isn't that really wanted? Isn't something like that is really wanted to be implemented in our education system, sister?
Hello?
Hello?
Ah. Is it that what we have to implement in our education system?
Yeah, yes, sister.
I feel that that kind of an attitude should bring into our education system. All should be respected.
Okay, thank you, dears. Now I invite Miss Anjali Vinay to propose vote of thanks.
Good morning, everyone. A warm and graceful morning to our most valued resource person, principal, teachers, organizing committee, my dear friends, and everyone gathered here. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks speech and the contribution of those who work really hard to make this webinar success. On the behalf of the entire institution, first of all, my sincere thanks to Almighty God for making today's event successfully. Next, a special thanks to our dearest principal, Dr. Rita Ladadikota ma'am, who graced us with his presence and guidance, who had been constant and give us lot of encouragement, and for your valuable presence in this webinar to make it a great success. Thank you, ma'am, so much. Next, I would like to thank Dr. Sulina ma'am, our HOD, Department of Commerce, for your valuable time and guidance to organize and coordinate this webinar. Thank you, ma'am, for your support. Next, I mention our deep sense of appreciation to thank our resource person, Reverend Sister Vinci Tangachan, who gave an FAT class as well as shared her knowledge and vision regarding on the topic financial empowerment of women. Her able guidance, stewardship, and support also encouraged my mind. It was very informative and creative session. My heartfelt thanks for joining with us in this webinar and make it great success. Thank you, sister, so much. Next, I take this opportunity to extend our most sincere thanks to Dr. Ushantini, coordinator of the program. And I may also like to express the sincere thanks to organizing committee members, Ginny ma'am, Sujitra ma'am, and Agil Shetton, who's providing us with the technical support. I also wish to express my gratitude to student committee members Akna, Tesita, Devika, Sresna, and second EC and third EC students who participate in this event to make this event successfully. On the behalf of the St. Joseph family, I would like to thank this opportunity to express our hearty thanks to all participants. I thank all the distinguished invites present here accepting our invitation. I thank the members participated in this webinar. But not the least, I thank my friends for your cooperation in making this function a resounding success. Finally, I leave you this inspiration quote. Life will only change when you become more committed to your dreams than you are to your comfort zones. Once again, I thank you all for your attention. Thank you so much.
So, once again, thank you to all the participants for your time and active participation. On behalf of the Commerce Department and the organizing committee, thank you all and have a pleasant day ahead.